Why does the foundation matter to me? For two reasons. Two things actually pulled me together to get into the foundation. But they all center on one person, my mother. And I'll tell you why I say my mother. Because I'm an only child. I grew up with her, stayed with her. When she had me, she couldn't have kids anymore, and I was concerned. And initially, I wanted to be a gynecologist. Why? Because I wanted to look after women and help them bear children. Unfortunately, I couldn't get into the School of Medicine. I ended up with the alternative. I'm a medical parasitologist by training. Unfortunately, she died too early. And I didn't get the opportunity to say thank you for what she did for me as a child. I was in university, early hours of my university education when she died. It took a long time for me to get over it. But I determined that I would do things for women that I couldn't do for her. I thought I could do it for other women. So I tried to read medicine, I couldn't. I did medical parasitology, bearing in mind that someday I was going to give back to society, give back particularly to women, to say thank you to my mother. Then I went to the UK to study, and I had my first daughter. And this girl was a split image of my mother. To marks on my mother's body, she had them. So I said to myself, my mother had come back to me. But she came back so quiet, and I was so worried. I took her to several hospitals as she was growing up. I did several scans on her head to find out what was wrong. We didn't know she was dyslexic, but that was what happened to her. And each time in the school, because she couldn't adapt to the pattern of teaching, each time in school, she'll marginally pass or marginally fail. And each December, I had to go to the teachers and plead with them to explain to them, for them to push her into the next class. Because her younger sister was only 11 months younger than her, and I didn't want her to catch up with her because it could compound the issues she was going through.
I'm a first child and a girl, so that's a lot of responsibility. Then coupled with the fact that you're struggling with school. I have this thing I say that different is not less. But at that time I felt less. I felt ashamed that I wasn't able to achieve. I felt unseen. I felt that I wasn't good enough. I felt like an embarrassment. I had loads of lesson teachers, it was just me. And even with that, I still didn't understand. So when you ask the question, how learning was for me when I was young, it was horrible. If the words are on white paper, the words tend to jump up and down, so it was difficult reading, and reading out loud in class was horrific. Like, I could stumble on my words, I couldn't spell the words properly. It just wasn't, I didn't enjoy school. When you're answering questions in class and you can't answer it, they will snake it behind you, they will call you ET, volleyball, which is roughly it's called dunce.
I knew she was struggling. She was struggling with school, And knowing what I know now, I think maybe at some point she must have, gotten a little bit depressed without even knowing it.
We didn't understand what was happening. There was that belief that, Chine was, she was not intelligent or not intelligent enough. But
I think I struggle to believe that because Chine is also very resilient. And there are some things that she deciphers and she understands and she solves that I couldn't understand. I couldn't do it. She's brilliant when it comes to solving problems. She's brilliant when it comes to, like putting things together.
That was the first time that I started hearing the word ITI, which in Igbo is called IT. And what that actually means is that you really don't know what you're doing. And no matter how much you try to put the information in your head from school, it doesn't stick or something like that. So it kept happening with Chinelo, and I just thought it was part of the way we were, maybe genetics or something, because what I realized was I couldn't really understand why she kept crying and kept feeling sad, and because of the challenges that she faced from being dyslexic. What I now realized was I had a bit of it too as well myself while I was growing up, and my own was a bit on a funny basis, because what happened to me was, in primary school they get you to stand up and read in class, especially during reading sessions, and when it's my turn to read and I pick up the book, it's on black and white, and I look at it, the word starts to jump up and down, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? I don't even know, do I need glasses or something? I didn't even know what was going on. So it kind of made it a bit challenging for me to express myself when it comes to reading.
So things started making sense to me when I went back to school, finally. I went to London Southbank University. So during the orientation period, we had this talk. They were talking about people, if you're struggling with school, there's an assessment that you can do, and then if you're diagnosed, they'll give you a free laptop, you get money and stuff like that. I was like, like the typical Niger person, I was like, let me just go and do this assessment and see if I'll get the laptop and get the money. But 2 minutes into the assessment with the psychologist, I just started crying. Like, she was like, Chinelo, she was like, tell me about school in Nigeria. How did you survive? And by the time I started talking, I started crying. And she was like, it's nothing to cry about what you were struggling. It has a name, it's called dyslexia. And the relief I felt, like, oh my God, Chinelo, this is a name, there's a name for what you're struggling with. You're not, wow. That relief, I felt like a heavy weight had been lifted off my shoulders.
That's why it's so painful to me today that with all the degrees I acquired, with being a professor of medical parasitology, I could not understand that my daughter had dyslexia. When she got into the UK, they found that her pattern of learning was entirely different from the other children. They changed her pattern of instructions. And my daughter, who was taught to be an Ode, E.T. in Igbo, that somebody who wasn't mentally together, who was taught to be stupid, was indeed a very bright student. I said to myself, now, when I leave whatever I was doing, then I've transitioned from the University of Nigeria into business. I've done business for 31 years, and I was again transitioning. And I said to myself, when I transition eventually, I was going to now face and then create an awareness for people to understand what dyslexia is. I've put together a team made up of eminent Nigerians to join me in the popularization of dyslexia. I'll start with Ambassador Ozo Mobu. Ozo is a retired ambassador who retired from his last posting in Mozambique. He brings up a wealth of experience with his organizational ability. He brings in strength. He brings in his sagacity. I have Dr. Mrs. Oranika, who is an expert in dyslexia, and she works from America. She retired from teaching and handling children in the US. I have Mrs. Nne Aramasyong. She studied, she teaches, she handles dyslexic children. For years, she has built a wealth of knowledge around dyslexic children and can identify, can prefer methodologies for overcoming it. She has also graciously agreed to join us. I have Barrister McMurdy, Barrister Muhammad is a son who has agreed to come with us, who has seen the plight of these children and has agreed to come on board with us to try and help with the advocacy fight, and also in preparing policies that we can take to House of Assembly and hopefully pass them into law to help the Education Ministry handle dyslexic children. I have Professor Uche Amazigbo. Professor Amazigbo worked with World Health Organization. She is an expert in onchocerciasis caused by a parasite called Onchocerca volvulus that causes lizard skin and river blindness. She's been out there fighting for children and women for years. I have Joe Ezigbo, who is my daughter, who suffered from dyslexia, having overcome it to now try and tell her story that will help others. Other members of trustees of the foundation, Brian Joe Ezigbo, who is a seasoned data professional. His experience across compliance, operations, and healthcare analytics brings a strong analytical and strategic perspective to the work of the foundation. Mrs. Ebube A. Onwuka is a seasoned and committed advocate for children. With her background in educational technology and training, she contributes to building more inclusive learning systems. She plays a key role in advancing awareness and support for children who learn differently. There are others, so numerous to mention, who together I'm hoping that we will have a formidable team that will tackle this issue of dyslexia in Nigeria.